What is up, fight fans? So today we're going to do something special. We're going to talk about how boxing helped me learn fighting games. And I know that to a lot of boxing aficionados, a lot of boxing video game fans especially, you're probably thinking to yourself, there's very little connecting to boxing. But I would argue that the basis of fighting games come from boxing or combat sports, but probably primarily from a boxing aspect, considering that boxing was the first combat sport that we had in the world, right? It was before even, karate or kickboxing, and definitely before MMA, as in the UFC counterpart that we see now, that didn't exist until around the 90s. I would heavily agree that the roots of fighting games are based off of boxing. Like, that is their baseline inspiration based off of the way the mechanics work when you actually dive deep into it and start understanding what you can do, what you can't do, the limitations, and the things that help you come out with the victory. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and talk a little bit about how boxing helped me learn fighting games.
Oh my God. Level 2 is coming from Meta.
One gets away for the championship.
There it
There
is.
it is. No way.
Pump the chest. Block a chance coming out. You're burned out. Are you going to react to level 3? This is your shot. The shimmy. Meta RD is your Red Bull Kumite New York champion.
And just like that, the crowd goes wild. My beautiful Dominican people.
You should be out there. Yeah, you should be out there.
There are quintessential things in fighting games that are very similar to boxing. Now, there are things that, although on face value they don't appear to come from boxing, they do indeed have the skeleton of boxing embedded within them based off of what the utility of those functions are. And one thing that I would say does that very well is the fireball. The fireball, you might think, oh, that is some magical move that nobody does. How can this be a boxing thing? It's impossible. But if you sit back and think about it, what does the jab, the rangefinder, the tool that you use to be at the safest distance but reach the furthest do for you in boxing? So many things. It can set up other moves. It can force your opponent to do something, and then you could prepare for that reaction with either a right hand. So you do 1, 1, 1. So your jab, 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 and then 2. Right? But when you do 1, 1, 1, and then 2, the first 2 ones were kind of gauging what's going on with the opponent, or trying to throw him off so that you could throw the 2. Same thing with the fireball. You'll see a lot of people, for example, who use Ken. Well, they'll throw a fireball, throw another one, throw another one, throw one more, and then on the 4th one, they'll drive in, hoping to get you flowing into a rhythm where you're just expecting the fireball and nothing else. The fireball also has a way to make you do something, as you don't want to just sit there and either fireball for fireball or just wait and block. Sometimes it prompts you to jump, and when someone jumps, you can hit them with an attack, as that was the bait that you were doing to begin with. It's not so dissimilar to utilizing the jab as a tool. So once you get your mind wrapped around, hey, these fireballs are basically the exact same thing as a jab, in the psychological aspect of it, it's easier for you to wrap your brain around it. And once you get good muscle memory with anti-airs and having different options coming off of the fireball, you are essentially using the same part of your brain, the same thought process that you do when you're setting people up using the jab. The jab in the game is also the fastest move, which means it is the most comfortable and easy move to land when in close quarters. The closer you are, obviously, it becomes a little bit easier. The fireball is kind of the jab extension in the game where it's like far distance, but the jab up close then becomes the move that you use to ensure that you will land first. And in boxing, the fastest punch is usually the punch that you throw in a straight line. And with the jab being the closest hand to your opponent, it tends to always be the jab, which is one of the reasons why the jab is also a tool for keeping your opponents honest, for testing. You don't want to test with the right hand because it's more riskier. You rather test with the jab. And in fighting game, they've embedded this into the fighting game ethos. The jab is the fastest attack. Therefore, you have this default button that you press consistently just to ensure that you have a higher chance to be first. If there's a frame difference of -3 and your opponent is deciding to try to throw something that's going to be about 9 frames or 10 frames to start up, if you throw the jab, you'll hit him first, even though he was moving into a move after hitting you. It's not too hard to understand once you realize that the bones are truly based off of boxing in and of itself. Now, I'm using Rashed here because Rashed is the person that I've mastered more than anyone in any of the fighting games, right? I'm getting better with Steve Fox, who's my favorite boxer in the boxing games. I'm also getting better with Ed, but Rashed is my bread and butter character. It's the character I've been learning for such a long time, because one thing that fighting games definitely does carry with it is the kind of musical instrument feeling, right? I used to play the piano when I was younger, and there was this thing that you had to do so that essentially your fingers are playing the piano and not your brain. It's a weird thing, but once you go through that process, you truly understand it. It's a muscle memory adaptation where you're not thinking of the next key that you're going to press. You're simply just pressing the next key without any thought. That's when you play the best. That's when everything flows. When you're thinking about it, which is a process that is necessary, you tend to be slower. You tend to mess up more. When you stop thinking about it, everything starts to flow in this natural flow. The musical rhythm of whatever music you're trying to make with whatever instrument. It could be a guitar, it could be whatever. But I played the piano and I did some drums too, and that rhythm and flow that could be attributed to boxing as well, and the way that you throw your combinations. It comes from this tactile rhythm that's essentially in the back of your brain. You're not thinking about the combination in the sense that you're like, here's a jab, here's a straight, here's a hook, here's an uppercut, here's a straight. You're not thinking about it that way. Your body just does it because you've repeated it so many times. So once you launch it, right? You launch the full combo. Anybody who's ever boxed can tell you that when they throw a 3-hit combo or a 4-hit combo, you've already committed to that 3-hit, 4-hit combo. You're not in after you throw 2 hits, deciding you're gonna add 2 more. When they're fast blitz combos, you've committed to those fast blitz combos. But that's simply because it's already in the back of your brain. Now, of course, you could hit and slow down and throw some more based off of the reactions of your opponent and tracking and all of that stuff. But that also comes with fighting games. Tracking your opponent's movements. Where are they going? What do they like to do? Baiting the things that they like to do. Same thing with boxing. You might feint. You might do a few things, and then that triggers things from your opponent. You notice that your opponent likes to do that, and then you do things that can heighten the ability for them to trigger those movements. That is the same thing that you do in fighting games. There's this super incredibly fun mind game that just is consistently playing when you are playing the game. It's the reason that I enjoy fighting games, to be honest. It's not because you could do cool combos. It's not because you could do cool moves and you could throw fireballs and there's all these super specials that look super cool. Those are a byproduct. Those are collateral to the fact that I enjoy getting in my opponent's head. And that is essentially the ethos of boxing. Because everyone is technically sound at the highest level. What makes the number 1 person in the world better than the number 10th person in the world? It's that slight difference in terms of their instincts and their ability to be in your head, while you seem to be completely lost, where all your choices seem to fall right into the hands of your opponent. And that is the most satisfying thing, and that is the most similar thing to boxing. It's the reason why I could use Rashed in this video, but yet I'm still giving you the boxing ethos, because it's not about if the player is a boxer or not, although those are more fun characters to me because there's an assimilation there with the sport that I love and the sport that I've participated in. But it isn't because they are boxers that I enjoy the boxing. It is because fighting games as a whole already encompasses the ideas, the actions of boxing. There's no greater joy than being in my opponent's head and figuring them out. Just like this sequence here. Paying attention to everything my opponent has been doing throughout the fight, noticing his lack of wanting to defend low and consistently defend high allowed me to keep him in the corner, because I was able to bounce off of a lot of low attacks. And one thing that is unique to fighting games, but very comforting, is that there's what's called a hit confirm, that the moment you land this hit, you can go into a full combo. Now that doesn't exist in boxing, but it is essentially just making sure that you do what you need to do to land that hit, the same way you try to make sure that you do what you need to do to land that powerful shot, right? This is the equivalent of a powerful shot, of a super powerful straight right that you've prepared, that you've used your opponent's movements and reads based off of their movements and their choices to prepare this powerful right hand so that you can land it flush and hopefully either get them rocked, or even better, get them knocked down, or even better than that, get them knocked out. That is what a hit confirm means to me. Yes, you have to learn the combos and get them flowing like you're learning an instrument. And the rhythm aspect there is similar to boxing. But the moment you land that hit confirm, and the better you are at executing your combos, the more it's that punchy hit. It's that big hit, because you're going to start linking that, inevitably be able to link it into a full-blown combo. When I started actually finally getting into fighting games, I get a lot of people tell me, wow, you've improved so much so quickly, considering you've never played them before. And I've never, ever played them before. I kid you not. I literally, the first time and the only time that I've played fighting games was Street Fighter 2 as a kid for Super Nintendo. And I didn't take it seriously. I just played. I wanted to hit you, and I didn't want you to hit me. And that is as much thought as I put into the game. And it was all I needed, because I wasn't playing with high elite, players. There wasn't online. It was just my uncles and my brother. But when I truly first started was Street Fighter 6. That's when I truly first started to actually try to play, and not just try to play, but try to learn how to play this correctly. Spacing, trying to understand how close your opponent is so that you can hit them. And you could do it efficiently so that you can actually tag them and start momentum on your side. That's all distance control, and that all comes from boxing. So although, yes, I've not ever played fighting games, and I'm starting to play fighting games now, they're not so dissimilar to boxing, the sport itself, regardless if you use a boxer or not. There are other things that I can touch on, but the video would be forever long. It would never end. But these are some of the basic key elements that clicked with me and made me understand, wow, this is basically that. Now, also, of course, I have this good timing with my fingers and everything when it comes to gaming, because I've played boxing games at a very high level. So there's that. But boxing games are not like fighting games, because there's differences there. There's similarities, but there's differences. But both boxing games and fighting games derive, obviously boxing games, but fighting games also derive from the sport of boxing. So hopefully this is a cool insight. And if you are a boxing aficionado, maybe you also want to entertain the premise of playing a fighting game, even if you've put it off, because trust me, I've put it off for my entire life, thinking that it's nothing that I would care about because it looks so fantastical. I can't even relate to this. But the moment that I started playing it, it clicked, and I realized, especially with the mind games and making people do things and baiting people to do things, those are like my favorite moments in fighting games. And I love how getting better in a fighting game doesn't mean you got a new tool, you've unlocked a new ability. Essentially, the character you select when you are horrible at the game, with all the tools that they have, is going to be the character that you select when you are very good at the game with the exact same tools. There's something incredibly satisfying with that, because it really lets you know that you have improved without any additional help. You've just improved your timing, your when you throw certain attacks, how to do certain attacks, how to punish, to ensure that that you're executing, and all that stuff, the reads and everything like that. That comes from just learning the character over time. No special extra things except that. And that is incredibly satisfying. Anyways, hope you guys enjoyed this video. A little bit of a special one today, and I'll see you in the next one.